Code must not be written by humans, code must not even be reviewed by humans. Those aren't my words, those are the actual operating principles of a real software team I spent time studying. 3 engineers, 3 sprints, no stand-ups, no Jira boards, and they're shipping production code faster than companies with 30 developers. Here's the thing that broke my brain. While these 3 engineers are running what they called a dark factory, software that builds itself with the lights off, a rigorous 2025 study found that most developers using AI tools are actually getting slower. Not faster, but slower, by 19%. And the craziest part, those developers believe AI made them 24% faster. They were wrong about the direction and the magnitude. So we have two realities existing at the same time. A few teams are shipping software without humans writing a single line of code, and the rest of the industry is getting miserably worse while convincing themselves they're speeding up. The gap between these two realities is the most important gap in tech right now, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what separates them. Dan Shapiro, CEO of Glowforge, veteran of multiple companies, published a framework that finally gives us honest language for what's actually happening. He calls it the 5 levels of vibe coding. Level 0 is what he calls a spicy autocomplete. You type the code, the AI suggests the next line. You accept or reject. This is GitHub Copilot in its original form. Just a faster tap key, the human is still writing the software, the AI is just reducing keystrokes. Level 1 is the coding intern. You hand the AI a discrete, well-scoped task. Write this function, build this component, refactor this module. You review everything that comes back. The AI handles the task, the human handles architecture, judgment, and integration. Level 2 is the junior developer. The AI handles multi-file changes now. It can navigate codebase, it can understand dependencies, it builds features that span modules. You're reviewing more complicated output, but you're still reading all the code. Here's the important part. Shapiro estimates that 90% of developers who say they are AI native are operating in this level. They think they are farther along than they are. Level 3 is where the relationship starts to flip. The developer becomes the manager. You're not writing code or having AI help anymore. You're directing the AI and reviewing what it produces. Your day is approve, reject, approve, reject. At the feature level, at the PR level, the model does the implementation, the model submits PR for you review. Almost everybody taps out here. Most developers hit the ceiling because they're struggling with the psychological difficulty of letting go of the code. But there are more levels. Level 4, the developer becomes the product manager. You write the specification, you leave, come back hours later, and check whether the test passed. You're not reading the code anymore, you're validating outcomes. The code is black box. You care whether it works or not. It is written. It requires a level of trust both in system and your own ability to write specs. And that quality of specs writing, almost nobody have developed it yet. Now, level 5, the dark factory, a black box that turns the specs into software. No human writes the code, no human reviews the code. The factory runs autonomously with the lights off. A specification goes in, working software comes out. Almost nobody on the planet operates at this level, but some teams do, and what they've built, it changed everything about what software development can look. Let me show you what level 5 actually looks like. There's a team called StrongDM that runs what might be the most thoroughly documented dark factory in production. Simon Willis, one of the most credible observers in the developer tooling space, calls it the most ambitious form of AI-assisted software development I've seen yet. The team is 3 people, Justin McCarthy, the CTO, Jay Taylor, Nan Cohen. They've been running this factory since July of last year, and the inflection point they identify Claude Sonnet 3.5. That's when they found that AI could sustain coherent work across sessions long enough that the output was actually reliable. Here's how it works. The factory runs on an open source coding agent. The entire repo is just 3 markdown and specification files. That's it. That is the agent. The specification describes what the software should do. The agent reads them, writes the code, and tests it. But here's where most people's mental model breaks down. StrongDM doesn't use traditional software tests. They use what they call scenarios. The distinction matters. Tests typically live inside the codebase. The AI can read them, which it means the AI can optimize for passing the test rather than building correct software. It is the same problem as teaching the test in education. You get perfect scores and shallow understandings. Scenarios are different. They live outside the codebase. Their behavioral specification is stored separately, so the agent cannot see them during the development. They function as a holdout set, the same concept machine learning uses to prevent overfitting. The agent builds the software, the scenarios evaluate whether it works. The agent never sees the evaluation criteria. It can't game the system. They also built what they called a digital twin universe, behavioral clones of every external service that software interacts with, a simulated Okta, a simulated Jira, a simulated Slack, Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Sheets. The AI develops against these twins running full integration testing without ever touching real production systems, and the output is real. Their AI context store has 16,000 lines of Rust, 9,500 lines of Go, 700 lines of TypeScripts. It is shipped, it is in production, it works, built by agents end to end. Here's the metric that tells you how seriously they take this. They say if you haven't spent $1,000 per human engineers per day on AI compute, your software factory has room for improvement. That's not a joke. That level of spend enables AI agent to run at a volume that makes the cost meaningful, and it's often still cheaper than the humans they're replacing. This isn't just happening in startups. The hyperscalers are doing the same thing, and it's getting strange. Over at Anthropic, 90% of Claude Code's code base was written by Claude Code itself. Boris Cherny, who leads the project, hasn't personally written a code in months. His role has shifted entirely to specification, direction, and judgment. And Anthropic is now estimating that functionally 100% of code produced at a company is AI generated. OpenAI's Codex 5.3 is the first frontier AI model that was instrumental in creating itself. Earlier builds would analyze training logs, flag failing tests, suggest fixes to training scripts. This model ships as a direct product of its own predecessor's coding labor. The feedback loop on AI has closed. The tools are building themselves, they're improving themselves, and that means the next generation will be faster and better than it would have been otherwise. The question isn't whether we're going to use AI to improve AI, the question is how fast that loop accelerates and what it means for the rest of us. So here's the uncomfortable truth. The gap between these dark factory teams and everyone else isn't technology gap. The same tools are available to everyone. Cursor, Claude, Copilot, you can download them right now. It is a people gap, a culture gap, an organizational willingness to change gap that no tool, no vendor can close. Most software organizations were designed to facilitate humans building software. Every process, every ceremony, every role, stand-ups, sprint planning, code interview, Q&A, they exist because humans building software need coordination structures. When a human is no longer the one writing the code, those structures aren't optional, they're friction. The bottleneck has moved from implementation speed to specification quality. And a specification quality is a function of how deeply you understand your system, your customer, your problem. That kind of understanding has always been the scarcest resource in software engineering. The dark factory doesn't reduce the demand for it, it makes the demand absolute. If you want to cross that gap, it's not about picking a better tool, it's about being willing to rebuild how you work from the ground up. And that's a lot harder than downloading an extension. If this changed how you think about AI and software development, drop a comment and let me know what level you're operating right now. Be honest and don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to go deeper on what this means for developers trying to survive this shift, I've got more coming.